You can see the background behind me as well, and you can tell that also. All right, so hope everybody's doing well today. We're broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. Welcome to the African History Network show. It is Friday, September 17th, 2021, and we are live. We're also broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep. So, in addition to talking about the new 4-part documentary series from Ken Burns dealing with Muhammad Ali, there was a big article from the New York Times that I read today. It's an 8-page article. Muhammad Ali. So the name of the new 4-part documentary series is called Muhammad Ali. Is going to premiere on Sunday, September 19th on PBS. And we'll talk about it this coming week as well. So this new documentary explores the many layers of the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali, like we've never seen him before. They searched more than 40 years of footage and photographs of Muhammad Ali. And they went through an archive of over 15,000 photographs to put together this masterpiece that is going to premiere on Sunday. So we'll discuss this. Ken Burns, along with Rashida Ali, one of Muhammad Ali's daughters, they were on the readout with Joy Ann Reid on the 16th. Okay, so we're going to share that interview that they did. It was a really good interview. Filmmaker Ken Burns' daughter Rashida Ali say new Muhammad Ali documentary full of surprises. New Muhammad Ali documentary full of surprises. Then September 15th, we did not get a chance to talk about it on our show on Wednesday. Wednesday was September 15th. September 15th was the anniversary of Muhammad Ali defeating Leon Spinks to take back his heavyweight championship title and become the first person to win the heavyweight championship 3 times. That was September 15th, 1978. We'll talk a little bit about that. We know that Ali was stripped of his title for refusing to enter the draft. Stripped of his title in 1967. He's out of the ring for 3.5 years. He comes back and fights Joe Frazier, is defeated by Joe Frazier, ends up having 3 fights with Joe Frazier as well. And he loses to Leon Spinks, but comes back and gets his title back. So we'll talk about that also. Now, early in the week, there was a segment from All In with Chris Hayes. You know, I think it was on the 14th. It was either the 14th or 15th. We talked about the new Freedom to Vote Act, the new Freedom to Vote Act that Democrats unveiled in the U.S. Senate, and it was crafted by Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, as well as Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia. Stacey Abrams was on All In with Chris Hayes on MSNBC talking about the new bill. We did not get a chance to play that clip the past couple of days. We're going to squeeze it in today. All right. Our coverage of the R. Kelly trial will continue next Monday. We're not going to deal with R. Kelly today. This Sunday on the African History Network show, you know, on Sundays we're on for 2 hours, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This Sunday, we'll be joined by 2 of my teachers, Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Professor James Small. Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Professor James Small will return to the African History Network show this Sunday. September 19th. And we'll talk some about the film Hapi that deals with the role of economics in the development of African civilization. We'll talk about that and some other topics as well. We know the screening of Hapi is coming to Detroit on Sunday, September 26th. We have the information at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Scroll down the page, you have the information there. I'm moderating the panel discussion. It's Sunday, September 26, 3 p.m. At the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. And right on our website, we have the link to the website, hapifilm.com, H-A-P-I, hapifilm.com. So you can purchase tickets and get more information. Okay, so we'll talk about that on today's show. Now, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and you can sign up for our email newsletter there as well. All right, so much going on, and what we'll do is on Sunday we'll try to squeeze in a segment or two from Roland Martin Unfiltered today. I haven't had time to go through and edit the video. We were joined later in the show by Dr. Gerald Horn, history professor, historian extraordinaire, and author of many, many books. Dr. Gerald Horn. We had a very good discussion. We'll maybe Sunday or Monday we'll talk about this interview that Detroit's on Isaiah Thomas. We know he's from Indiana, but he played for the Detroit Pistons. Isaiah Thomas did with idiotic Kevin Whitlock on Fox Sports, and he was talking negatively about the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, being performed at the NFL games, etc. So Roland talked about this on the show today. We had Dr. Gerald Horn. We talked about it some. I did not get a chance to really dig in like I wanted to for the sake of time, and there were other panelists that had to pose questions, but we'll probably talk some about that as well. If you saw that discourse, if you saw that segment of Roland Martin Unfiltered today, when Isaiah Thomas said that we are the Aboriginal people, something to that effect. And then he started talking about status, and white and black are status, even though some of the information he was saying about the history of Lift Every Voice and Sing was incorrect. I can tell that he's been studying. He's been doing some research somewhere. And we'll talk some about that. I didn't have a chance to get deep into it, but I know what he's talking about. And many of you have heard the interviews I've done with Dr. David Imhotep, author of the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence, which deals with the African presence in this land we call the United States of America, going back at least 51,700 years ago, before the people who we call Native Americans even came into existence. Now, this does not mean that the transatlantic slave trade did not exist. Yes, it did. It just came thousands of years later. That's all. You have to understand the chronology of history and understand also different things that are taking place at different times around the world. Okay, I just sent you an email. Ed, cue up clip one for me, please. All right, and then also we'll let you know about my online course, From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement of Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Class meets this weekend. It's going to meet this Sunday because I'll be at the second annual Detroit African Cultural Festival on Saturday. And we'll do a quick recap of what we covered in class number one. So if you visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, we have the information there for the 10-week online course. Click on register here. You can enroll in the class. It's still discounted for limited time only for $70. And we do the class live. All the sessions are recorded. As soon as you register, you can watch class number one. There's also some bonus lectures there for you as well. All right. So if we look at this piece here from the New York Times, really, really good article by Finn Cohen. Muhammad Ali. So the name of the new 4-part documentary series is called Muhammad Ali. Now, you know, there's another one out called Blood Brothers that deals with the relationship between Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X. That's on Netflix, if I remember correctly. That's on Netflix. We'll talk about that after I watch it. But if we look at this one here from New York Times, so very interesting article here. I'm going to highlight a couple things here. So there's been no shortage of documentaries or biographies about Muhammad Ali in the last few decades. Filmmakers, the idea took root in 2014, and a friend of Ken Burns named Jonathan Ike was working on a book called Ali, A Life, and it was published in 2017. This book was published in 2017. And Jonathan Ike's research, EIG, led him to believe that a comprehensive film representation of Muhammad Ali's life had not been done before, and that Ken Burns and his daughter, Ken Burns' daughter, Sarah, his oldest daughter, were the perfect team to do it. Now, the more the filmmakers dug into Muhammad Ali's life, Sarah Burns said, Ken Burns' oldest daughter, the more they realized just how much there was to this story, And this new documentary explores the many layers of Muhammad Ali. Not just the boxing, obviously, Sarah Burns said, but his relationship with Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, his family life, his marriages, his draft resistance, and his courage, and being willing to go to jail for his convictions, and also his battle with Parkinson's disease later in his life. Okay. She said that really had not been explored in much detail. Now, the new series traces a path from the young Cassius Clay in Jim Crow era Louisville, Kentucky, to the complicated, at times self-contradictory adult who won the heavyweight title 3 times and faced the United States government over his refusal to fight in Vietnam. We'll talk about this on the other side of the break. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by. Everybody share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Okay, who still needs to register for the new 10-week online course that I teach? It's normally on Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. I'm going to post a link here. You can register for the class. As soon as you register, you can watch the content. right, how's everybody doing? Let's see. We've got Jerry, John, Robert, Jataro. Stand by, everybody. Stand by. Back from break in 3 minutes. Back from break in 3 minutes. Okay. Stand by. Okay, we posted the link there. Who saw me on Roller Martin Unfiltered today? Who saw me on Roller Martin Unfiltered today? Back from break in 3 minutes. Stand by. Okay. We got Kenneth. Second.
910, the Superstation, Detroit's only African-American talk radio.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Friday, September 17th, 2021, and we are live. It's been a very busy week. I had a 10 a.m. conference call this morning. Then I had to get ready and head out to Maharis Gentry Park to see what was going on day one of the second annual Detroit African Cultural Festival. Day two is taking place on Saturday, September 18th, 2021. So it is 12 noon to 8 p.m. 12 noon to 8 p.m. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have the information there. 12550 Avondale in Detroit. Is at the park, Maharis Gentry Park. 12550 Avondale in Detroit. And it's 12 noon to 2 p.m. Okay, we have the information there. I'll be speaking somewhere between 3 and 5, somewhere around there. And I'll have my vendor booth out there also, so you can come see me. Okay. So let's go back to this article here from the New York Times dealing with Muhammad Ali. And it talks about a new documentary called Muhammad Ali that explores the multiple layers of Ali as we have never seen him before. Okay, they researched 40 years of film footage of Ali, over 15,000 photographs, a lot of footage never seen before by the public, a lot of photographs never seen before by the public. So the new series is a 4-part documentary. The new series traces a path from the young Cassius Clay in Jim Crow era Louisville, Kentucky, to the complicated, at times self-contradictory adult who won the heavyweight title 3 times and faced the U.S. government over his refusal to fight in Vietnam. He is the greatest, clowning with the Beatles, standing at a podium with Malcolm X, embracing the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., calling another black fighter an Uncle Tom for refusing to acknowledge his name change, as a leering Howard Cosell tells the cameras to keep shooting the ensuing scuffle, and finally declaring publicly at risk to his career and endorsements that he was a Muslim. And we know it's going to be right after he wins the heavyweight championship in 1964, February 1964, that he announces to the world that he has joined the Nation of Islam, and that he's a Muslim, and he announces his new name, Muhammad Ali. Now, Muhammad Ali's rise to stardom coincided with a period of intense cultural change in the United States, and his connection to the civil rights and anti-war movements is critical in distinguishing Muhammad Ali the man from Ali the boxer, okay, and in recognizing his impact on American audiences, okay. Ed, we're going to go to clip 2 first from the clip 2 first of Muhammad Ali and Dr. King. We're going to go to clip 2 first, okay, so just cue that up for me. You can't understand his refusal to be inducted into the U.S. Army without understanding his faith, without understanding the meaning of Elijah Muhammad in his life. We had not really seen that explained. There were also perspectives that had not been heard. We thought, who out there could tell us more about his faith? Okay, so I want to go to this clip here. Now, Dr. King and Muhammad Ali had a secret friendship. And there was a press conference, there was a meeting that they had March 30th, 1967. Okay, March 30th, 1967. Now, this was 2 years after Malcolm X had been assassinated February 21st, 1965. And this was a year after Muhammad Ali. This is a year after Dr. King meets with Elijah Muhammad, okay, which was in February 1966. Muhammad Ali, the Dr. King and Coretta Scott King go to Elijah Muhammad's house, and Dr. King and Elijah Muhammad have a meeting. Okay, so they also, Dr. King and Muhammad Ali also had a secret friendship. And at this time that they had this meeting, they were probably the most recognizable African Americans in the country, probably the most recognizable African Americans in the country. Let's go to this clip, Ed.
What did you discuss back in the hotel room? Nothing, just friends, just like cruise ship and Kennedy and everybody. When the people, all of the politicians of all other white races come together, and they, although they believe different, they think different, whites can come together and discuss the common cause. But whenever a few of us come together, the world is shook up. And I'll say, whatever went back there, it's our business.
Reverend King, do you agree? Oh, yes, yes. We had a very good discussion on many matters. And, of course, these are not things that we would discuss here, but we do have common problems and common concerns. And above all, as Muhammad Ali has just said, we are all victims of the same system of oppression. And even though we may have different religious beliefs, this does not at all bring about a difference in terms of our concerns.
Do you share the same, one more question, do you share the same concern that Muhammad has for his draft status?
Oh, I certainly do. My views on the draft are clear. I'm against it. And I think the sooner our country does away with the draft, the better it will be for everybody. I'm very disturbed about the militaristic posture of our nation. And I think until we have a radical reordering of priorities in our country, we're going more and more to the depths, and I should say to the doom that follows arrogance of power, as Senator Fulbright said.
Okay. All right. So this was the month before both Dr. King and Muhammad Ali fully come out against the war, meaning Dr. King delivers his first speech against the war April 4th, 1967, called Beyond Vietnam. April 4th, 1967. He's assassinated exactly 1 year after that, April 4th, 1968. And in late April 67, Muhammad Ali refuses to be drafted into the army. So this is the month before that. That clip, that interview, that's from March 30th, 1967. Okay. So I want to go to clip number 1. Now, this is from the readout with Joanne Reed, MSNBC. She spoke with Ken Burns, who's the director of the film, filmmaker Ken Burns, and one of Muhammad Ali's daughters, Rashida Ali, about this 4-part documentary series. Let's go to this clip, Ed.
Basement was this Joe Martin, who was running a little boxing school.
Cassius told the story years later that for a minute he forgot about his bike, because the sight of his boxing gym, the smell of the leather and the sweat and the excitement, the action of boys in a ring hitting each other, black and white together.
And he reported to fire, and I'm going to get the guy, I'm going to kill him. Joe Martin said, well, do you know how to fight? Fight.
And the rest, as they say, is history. That was a scene from the upcoming 4-part PBS documentary series, Muhammad Ali, featuring one of the most iconic and consequential figures of the 20th century, young Cassius Clay from Louisville, who later became Muhammad Ali, and a 3-time heavyweight boxing champion, captivated billions of fans with his power in and out of the ring. This series kicks off Sunday, and we cannot wait. Joining me now, one of the directors of the new series, acclaimed documentary filmmaker Ken Burns, and Rashida Ali, the daughter of Muhammad Ali, who's also featured in the documentary. I'm so excited to have you guys on. I cannot wait to watch this film. Rashida, your dad is my all-time hero. My mom and I watched all of his fights in my era. I've got to go all the way back to the beginning. Let me just be clear. We're talking about in the 80s, up until he retired. But my mother just absolutely loved him, and I loved him too. Tell me, what will people learn that's new in this documentary that you're excited about?
Well, first of all, Joy, it's good to see you again. Thanks for having us on the show. Every time I watch the documentary, I get chills, because it's such a beautiful depiction. And I have to, say that Ken and Sarah Burns and David McMahon did an incredible job with capturing my dad's very complex history without losing the essence of who he truly was as a person. His goodness, his kindness shine through. And again, when you're watching, a lot of people think they know a lot about my dad. And I'll be honest with you, I've seen bits and pieces from the documentary that I didn't even know. So, there were family footage that I've never seen before of me and my mom and my dad and us 4 kids just hanging out at the house. It brought tears to my eyes because, to see my dad as a boxer, that's one thing. And most people have probably seen all the footage from that part of his life. But as we all know, that's a short part of his life, because most of his life, he's a civil rights activist. He's a poet. He's a humanitarian. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a brother. He's a friend. So, and he combated Parkinson's. So you're seeing all these really aspects of my dad's life unfold in front of your eyes. And I want to thank Ken Burns, Sarah, for allowing my dad to control the narrative instead of them controlling it.
Yeah, and I have to say, Ken Burns, I am a huge fan of yours and your filmmaking, so I am excited to talk to you today. I want to play a little bit. This is talking about the activist part of what Rashida Ali just said, and the impact of Muhammad Ali as an activist. Take a look.
Muhammad Ali was an activist who fought to reach us a certain way and to move America in a certain way, and to move individuals in a certain way. I'm going to take this path. I believe that I'm right, and even if I'm not right, I'm still me. And to be able to follow that, and to know that there was going to be an enormous price to pay for that, and to have that be generational, to have that live on beyond you, is extremely valuable.
Ken Burns, you've documented so many important figures in American history. What, in your view, what is most important about Muhammad Ali?
You can't contain him. He's one of the biggest, most wonderful human beings I've ever gotten to know. He's larger than life. His flaws are big. His strengths are big. This is a story about freedom, which is incredibly hard to achieve if you're a black person in the United States on this continent, anytime since 1619 on. It's about courage, not just inside the ring. This is a very difficult sport to play, but outside of the ring in the stance he took, particularly about Vietnam, but in other places, as Rashida alluded to, with regard to Parkinson's and that multi-decade struggle that he had there, but yet his reach was getting farther. And it is about the four-letter word that the FCC allows you and me to say, Joy, but we have a hard time really talking about, which is love. I mean, this guy touches every single aspect of the late 20th century, from the role of sports, the role of black athletes, to ideas of black masculinity and manhood, to civil rights, to politics, to faith, to war, to sex. All of those things are contained, and they're all things that are happening today. So when we cut away from Howard Bryant there at the end, we're moving to a young woman marching in protest across the Brooklyn Bridge. We don't deliberately show you what the protest is, but all she thinks she needs to come to that protest is a simple black T-shirt with white letters with two words that say Muhammad Ali. It means freedom. It means courage. It means love.
Amazing. Let me play one more clip. This is Muhammad Ali with Malcolm X in Ghana. Take a look.
In Accra, the capital of Ghana, thousands gathered at the airport to catch a glimpse of the world's new heavyweight champion. Outside his hotel, Ali heard a familiar voice. Brother Muhammad called Malcolm X, who was on his own overseas tour. He greeted Ali enthusiastically. "I still love you," he told the boxer. "You left the Honorable Elijah Muhammad," Ali said. "That was the wrong thing to do." There was little else to say. Malcolm walked away.
That is so awesome. So my Uncle Benny was at the Rumble in the Jungle in the Congo. So he told me so many amazing stories about just the feeling that Muhammad Ali produced internationally for the diaspora. And Rashida, I'll throw that to you first and then to you, Ken. The bigger picture of what he accomplished. What do you think is his great legacy beyond boxing?
Well, that's tough, Joy. I think his biggest accomplishment was his ability to unapologetically and sincerely devote his entire life to his faith and to follow it to the end of time. And with that became his love for people. And serving others is what he did with his life. In and out of the ring, all he thought about and talked about was how he was going to free his people and to make people feel special. And he did that.
Yeah, and I have one selfish question for you, Ken Burns, as an aspiring documentarian myself. How do you choose the projects that you decide to commit to? Because you do such amazing work. How do you pick the next thing?
In some ways, Joy, the facile, glib response is to say they pick us. We're just interested in good stories. And Sarah Burns, my oldest daughter, and her husband, David McMahon, and I have been working on this for years and years and years. And we're with PBS, which allows us to deep dive, to spend 7 years to discover the footage that even Rashida doesn't know of her daddy talking to her. This is an amazing person who transcends the particular sport that he was involved in and gave us a kind of method of dealing with the problems. We're in the middle of the struggle still, and he's a good guidepost to all of that. I mean, you love him, warts and all, and it's, to me, I can't think of a more satisfying experience that we've had as filmmakers than trying to wrestle this complex story to the ground. And of course, people like Rashida, who are in the film and who she carries the spirit of her father everywhere. Give us a chance to understand this amazing American. If I were given a chance to go to dinner with a couple of people that I've gotten to know over the almost 50 years that I've been doing this, it would be Louis Armstrong and Muhammad Ali. Abraham Lincoln, a kind of distant third. I'm not sure he'd say much. He'd tell some jokes. But to have Louis Armstrong and to have Muhammad Ali would just be the gift of all gifts. And they are as American as anything. And I think this is the important thing. What he did was as a black man, and he did not forget where he came from. He achieved freedom, which is tough, but he didn't forget to pull everyone else along. And everyone around the world felt, anybody who felt the boot of the man felt that he was speaking for them. You know, and when he goes, and Rashida and I can do this in unison, I've had 180 amateur fights, I've had 22 professional fights, and I'm pretty as a girl. I'm pretty as a girl. Black is beautiful, and people responded to that, and he changed the whole dynamic, and everything is sort of before Ali and after Ali.
I am so excited to see this show. First, I want to come to that fictional dinner. If that ever happens, I'm a Bogart that dinner. Rashida, listen, one of my favorite names is Rashida because every Rashida I know, and I work for one, I love them all because y'all are all amazing. That's just a name for amazing women. I love you guys both. Thank you. Ken Burns, I'm a fan. Rashida Ali, I'm a fan. Thank y'all both very much. Muhammad Ali premieres this Sunday at 8 p.m. on PBS. Can you tell I'm excited? Don't miss it.
All right. Okay, so that was from the readout with Joy-Ann Reid. That was Thursday, September 16th. Name of that clip is filmmaker Ken Burns' daughter Rashida Ali say new Muhammad Ali documentary full of surprises. That's it, MSNBC.com. The picture we had up of Muhammad Ali was Muhammad Ali with Rashida's mother, Kalia Ali. Okay. And let me see. Let me pull this back up here. This was Rashida's mother. This was Ali's second wife, Belinda Boyd, who changed her name to Khalila Ali. That's Rashida Ali's mother. Now, over the next several years, the filmmakers unearthed more than 15,000 photographs and dug up footage that had not been seen publicly. A production company that has shot The Thriller in Manila, Muhammad Ali's third and final bout with Joe Frazier in the Philippines, had folded before the film could be used. Their footage was buried in a Pennsylvania archive. They said this woman pulled these boxes out and said, "They say Ali on them. I don't know what they are. This is Technicolor. It's 16 millimeter shot from the apron of the ring. It just pops. The film just pops. And you see the fight in ways that had never been seen before." So they show this to you in this documentary. So I've seen most of the documentaries on Muhammad Ali. Now I have a 6-hour documentary on Muhammad Ali that's on 3 DVDs. I think it's called The Ultimate Ali. It came out probably 15 years ago. I bought it from Blockbuster. So that was like the premiere documentary on Ali. Is 6 hours. So this one may probably surpass that one. Now, Muhammad Ali's relationship with Joe Frazier, who as a young fighter had been one of Ali's fans, is one of the thornier aspects of the documentary. Muhammad Ali's treatment of Joe Frazier before their fights was quite cruel, employing some of the language of quote unquote racist white people, as one commentator in the series says, to denigrate Joe Frazier, and Joe Frazier never forgave Ali for that. Also, is part of the complex picture of Muhammad Ali that the series provides. A people's champion who could be petty, who could be a devout Muslim, who was a serial philanderer, who was an idealist, who made a lot of people angry with his refusal to conform to public expectations, with his refusal to conform to public expectations. They also talk about something that I've talked about before, and D.L. Hughley has talked about this as well. See, at one point, Muhammad Ali was one of the most hated men in America, especially after he refused to be drafted. Well, go back. When he announced he was in the Nation of Islam, Okay. And and changed the name to Muhammad Ali, he became hated also. All right. A lot of people did not like him before then because they said he talked too much. But then after he did, and see, a lot of white people wanted Sonny Liston to destroy Muhammad Ali because Muhammad Ali talked a lot. He was Cassius Clay then. He talked a lot and he was hanging around Malcolm X, but he had not announced that he had joined the Nation of Islam yet until after he won the title in February '64. So a lot of white people wanted Sonny Liston to defeat Cassius Clay. Then after Muhammad Ali refused to be drafted in April '67, oh my God, he really became hated. They go on to say here on page 7 of this 8-page article, people hated his guts. People hated his guts, and white people did not love him until he could not talk. Now, this is something I've talked about before, as well as D.L. Hughley. When Parkinson's took hold of Ali, and when he was lighting at the Olympics for the ceremony, holding the torch, the 1996 Olympics, and he's there holding the torch, trembling. Okay. When he was not able to talk and to call out America on this racism and this hypocrisy, things like this, then a lot of white people loved him. Like a lot of white people loved Dr. King after he was assassinated. Okay. The series comes to a close as Ali has become, as filmmaker Ken Burns described it, quote, the most beloved person on the planet, end quote. The footage of his trembling surprise appearance at the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta is a crucial piece of Muhammad Ali's lasting image and mythology. But as Ken Burns puts it, quote, mythology is a mask. Mythology is a mask. So you had people who hated Muhammad Ali's guts. White people didn't love him until he could not talk. There were people, African Americans and white, who still called him Cassius Clay. There were people who still did not want to give him his due. And there were people who still held a lot against him. Okay, so check out this piece here from the New York Times. Muhammad Ali, the documentary Muhammad Ali, explores the many layers of the greatest, the many layers of the greatest. Okay, check out this piece right here. Okay, we're going to squeeze in this clip here from, let me see, let's see. Yeah, we'll come back to Ali beating Leon Spinks. We're going to go to clip 3. Ed, I want to squeeze this clip in here. So we talked about early in the week, we talked about the Democrats in the Senate introducing the new voting rights bill, the Freedom to Vote Act, the Freedom to Vote Act. Okay. Stacey Abrams was on All In with Chris Hayes on September 14th discussing this new bill. Let's go to this clip, Ed.
States across the country are in the process of redrawing their congressional maps. They do that every 10 years, right, for redistricting, and it's hugely consequential. This year, the maps are likely to more or less determine which party, Republicans or Democrats, control the House in the next election. And Republicans in states under their full control push their advantage in unprecedented ways in the last round of redistricting, including maps that were struck down by courts in North Carolina and Pennsylvania because they were so extreme. That's just one way Republicans can hijack American democracy, in addition to those restrictive new voting laws in Georgia and Texas. Now, the Justice Department is suing to block the Georgia law, which is big news. It's one way to sort of put a check on this. But fundamentally, you need federal legislation to create minimum standards for all 50 states to strengthen our democracy. No way around it. Now, the House has already passed 2 such pieces of democracy reform legislation. So far, Democrats have struggled even to get all 50 Democratic senators on board before we even take up the question of the filibuster. That now appears to have changed. Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia has now signed onto a compromise plan. It's called the Freedom to Vote Act, which would make Election Day a public holiday, would require same-day registration by 2024,
and mandate at least 15 days of early voting for federal election. Republican leader Mitch McConnell has already said his party will not support a federal voting rights bill, which could provide political cover for President Joe Biden to move ahead with a public push to actually just reform the filibuster or get rid of it for this piece of legislation. Stacey Abrams has been instrumental in the fight to expand voting rights. She is the founder of Fair Fight, an organization that promotes free and fair elections across the country, and she joins me now. It's great to have you on the program. First, let me just ask where you are on this piece of legislation that was announced today that now has, as far as I understand, everyone in the Democratic caucus in the U.S. Senate on board.
I am excited and very supportive of the Freedom to Vote Act. It takes the best intentions that we have for protecting our democracy and concretizes it, making sure that we have uniform standards across this country so that the quality of our democracy doesn't vary from geography to geography or based on your race. Those are two important steps. And what this bill does is it takes the important pieces that we need to protect our democracy, to protect our elections, and modernizes it. Recognizes that the challenges we faced in 2020 and 2018 have now been joined by subversion of elections, by threats and intimidation to election workers and to voters. And it responds not only to what we knew we faced, but to new challenges that have been brought forward by the legislation that's been passing in 18 states and that is pending in 49 states. So the Freedom to Vote Act is an incredibly important step forward, and in tandem with the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, will protect our democracy and allow us to keep moving forward.
Yeah, you mentioned the threats to election and poll workers that has been a theme in the aftermath of the sort of failed insurrection and the run-up to that failed insurrection. Reuters has done some reporting on this and identified more than 100 threats of death or violence made to U.S. election workers and officials, part of an unprecedented campaign of intimidation inspired by Trump's false claims the 2020 election was stolen. The response so far, only 4 known arrests and no convictions. As someone who has, again, worked at this issue at the ground level for a long time, like, what is the effect of that?
It has a chilling effect, first of all, on people's willingness to actually administer our elections.
Right.
When you know that your willingness to help move democracy forward will be met with death threats, the likelihood of you continuing that work is almost nil. And that's why we are watching unprecedented numbers of people retire from or resign from the process. But it also emboldens those who would try to continue the insurrection at the state and local level. That is why it's so critical that we have federal legislation that says that no one should be more protected in this process than those who are called upon to count those ballots, to process those voters, and to ensure access to our democracy in all 50 states.
The Georgia law, which you mentioned, obviously Georgia and Texas and other states that have limited or tinkered with the rules, right, around elections in such ways that will make it more difficult for people to vote. The DOJ has filed suit against Georgia that was announced, I believe, back in June. There's a real question about how much of a check these DOJ actions can be, particularly in the landscape we exist in with the voting rights as it's currently constituted. What's your feeling about how much the DOJ can play the role that we want it to play of sort of basically enforcing those constitutional standards?
I believe in belt, suspenders, and then twine around your waist to hold things up. And where we are in this moment in our history, we are under assault by those who would declare themselves insurrectionists, who would undermine the very fundamental premise of our nation by undermining our democracy. And so I want the Department of Justice to be at the forefront of pushing back against these laws. I want them to be at the forefront, demanding action. But we also need our Congress to step up. We need our executive branch, we need our judicial branch, and we need our legislative branches. And the Freedom to Vote Act ensures that the legislative branch takes its steps. And what we're doing while we wait is making sure that the Justice Department, who works for all of us, that they are doing their best to ensure and protect our access to the right to vote. And hopefully with these two pieces in place, we will have a judiciary that recognizes that its responsibility is not partisanship, but patriotism, and will defend the right to vote and start to reverse some of the terrible decisions they've made in the last decade.
Okay, pause it right there, Ed. Pause it right there. Pause it right there. Okay, so today, pause it right there, Ed. Today on Roland Martin Unfiltered, one of the things we talked about, and we'll deal with this on Sunday, North Carolina judges block voter ID law saying it discriminates against black people. North Carolina, this was a ruling that came today, Superior Court, North Carolina, 2 judges to 1. North Carolina judges block voter ID law, saying it discriminates against black people. Okay, those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. We'll keep going for a couple more minutes. The history lesson on Muhammad Ali beating Leon Spinks, we'll deal with that on, we'll get to that on Sunday. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Register for my 10-week online course we do normally on Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. This Saturday, this weekend, we'll do it on Sunday, September 19th, 12 noon to 2 p.m. As soon as you register, you can watch class number 1. And we do the class live. All the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch them anytime, even after the 10-week online course is over with. Remember, right now, let's correct wrong behaviors. Not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you Sunday. Peace. All right, stand by. Stand by. Okay, let's see here. All right, and the second annual Detroit African Cultural Festival is taking place Saturday, September 18th, 12 noon to 8 p.m. at Harris Gentry Park, 12550 Avondale in Detroit. So visit our website. We have the information there. Okay, it's a free event. Come on out. There'll be vendors there, African drum and African dance, all types of activities for the family, for children, everything. And then you can also visit the website, DetroitACF.org, DetroitACF.org. They have all the information there at their website as well. Okay, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show, through Cash App, $ the AHN Show, through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show. We're here 6 days a week. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills, etc. All right, and this is our official Cash App account, $ the AHN Show, SHOW. When you go to it, it shows my name, it says Michael, and it shows my picture there. These other ones are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. Okay, let's see. Okay, so very quickly here, September 15th, 1978, Muhammad Ali took his title back from Leon Spinks. And when Leon Spinks beat Muhammad Ali, it was a shock. We know Ali was way past his prime in 1978. I mean, he won the title first in 64. Okay, we're talking about 14 years later, and he's still fighting. There's a piece from history.com, This Day in History, history.com, dealing with September 15th, 1978. On September 15th, 1978, let me pull this up here. Muhammad Ali defeats Leon Spinks at the Louisiana Superdome, in New Orleans, to win the world heavyweight boxing title for the 3rd time and become the first boxer to do that, to win the heavyweight title 3 times. It's hard enough to win it 1 time. So following his victory, Ali retired from boxing, only to make a brief comeback 2 years later. Ali, who once claimed he could, quote, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, left the sport permanently in 1981. And when he, there's a documentary of the fight that Ali did with Larry Holmes. And in this, I forgot the name of the documentary. I think it was on ESPN or something like that. In this documentary, it talked about how Ali should have never been given a boxing license, because the effects of Parkinson had already set in, and his motor skills were already slowed down. Okay, his motor skills were already slowed down, and he should have never been given a boxing license. So check this out from history.com. This deals with Muhammad Ali winning his title back a third time and defeating Leon Spinks, September 15th, 1978. And it was, we know it was a shock. He defeats George Foreman in 74, October 1974. And I remember watching an episode of What's Happening, the original TV show What's Happening. And they talk about Dee Rogers' little sister, talks about Ali losing to Leon Spinks. And then Ali's going to come back and later in 78 and defeat Spinks. And we know Leon Spinks was never the same after that. This is a tragedy with, Leon Spinks. So we'll talk about this some more on Sunday's show. All right, look, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. Sunday, we'll be joined by Professor James Small and Dr. Leonard Jeffries, two of my teachers. So we're going to have a good discussion. And the screening of the film Happy is taking place in Detroit, September 26th, Sunday, September 26th, 3 p.m. It's a screening and panel discussion. I'll be moderating the panel discussion. This is taking place at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. We have the information at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and there's a link here to the Happy website. Click there to purchase tickets. All right, remember, right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you Sunday. Peace. Thanks for tuning in.